Imagine for a moment that everything you desire is already there, that your wishes aren't waiting to come true, but simply waiting to be fulfilled. What if I told you there's a way to achieve this, a subtle key, an ancient language that, if spoken perfectly, has the power to change your life without exception? Today we're talking about that key, metaphysical prayer. It's not a pious plea, a desperate plea, or even randomly repeated words. It is an act of conscious creation, a spiritual technology as precise as it is ancient. It involves using the verb, the word, spoken with intention, emotion, and coherent thought, as a tool for absolute manifestation. Many spiritual masters have taught this to us in many different ways, but the essence has always been the same. Everything you desire from inner coherence will manifest itself without exception, because it's not about asking, but about knowing, feeling, and vibrating. We live in a reality that responds not to what we say with our mouths, but to what we express with our entire being. That's why many people pray without achieving anything. They desire something, but see no fruit. The fault lies not in the prayer, but in the way one prays. Words alone are not enough. It's like shooting an arrow without tension on the string. It has no power, no direction. This video is a guide, a revelation. Let's debunk the myths about prayer. We'll delve into its invisible architecture. We'll understand its vibrational essence and discover why a prayer spoken from the end, from a fulfilled state, has the power to materialize any reality. Not because it's magic, but because it's consistent with the laws of the universe. We will examine its esoteric and historical context, its foundations in scripture, and, most importantly, the precise steps that must be followed so that your prayer no longer remains a cry into the void, but becomes a fertile seed that blossoms. For we are not here to pray to a distant God. We are here to remember that the kingdom is within us. And whoever prays for the kingdom is not asking, he explains. Prepare yourself. What you're about to discover isn't just a technique. It's a way of living from the soul, a way of speaking from the spirit. Today you'll learn how a single, powerfully spoken prayer can move the invisible threads of your reality. Prayer has been a bridge between the human and the divine for millennia. But before it was a ritual, it was vibration. Before it was a word, it was intention. And before it was domesticated by religions, it was a secret tool of the initiates, a spiritual science. The ancient mystery schools of Egypt, Greece, and India taught that the universe was created by sound. Not symbolically, but literally. The logos, the creative word, was not a metaphor, but a living force. The spoken word as a structuring vibration of matter. In the papyrus of Ani, the gods shaped the cosmos by uttering the secret names of things. In this context, every word was a vibrational key. To utter something meant to give it existence. The Bible captures this idea in its purest form. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Genesis doesn't say that God thought of light, nor does it say that he felt it. It says, and God said, "Let there be light," and that was it. That, he said, is the key. What is invoked is activated. But over the centuries, this knowledge fragmented. Prayer became a plea, a repetitive prayer, an act of blind faith. What was once spiritual alchemy became an empty routine. What was once an art of conscious creation transformed into fear disguised as devotion. We prayed to an external God instead of activating the creative power of the inner God. Only in the 20th century did echoes of this forgotten knowledge resurface. Various philosophers, strongly influenced by the current of new thought, began to teach that true prayer is not asking but affirming. One does not pray to obtain something, but rather to harmonize one's vibration with what already exists on the invisible plane. They called this prayer from the end. That is, not from lack, but from fulfillment. Other metaphysical thinkers have also stated this clearly. The word is magical tuberita, but not just any word, only the one that emerges from the total coherence of thought, feeling, and verb. Metaphysical prayer works not through repetition, but through harmonious vibration. This idea is not modern. It is a reactivation of ancient truths. In Hermeticism, one of the 7 principles states that everything vibrates, and where there is vibration, there is creation. Therefore, words spoken with tuned vibrational intent are not sounds, but codes. So what distinguishes a metaphysical prayer from a conventional prayer? Your consciousness, its vibrant precision. Its purpose is not prayer, but the proclamation of what is already true on a spiritual level. It is a reactivation of the truth of the soul above the illusion of matter. Metaphysical prayer is not blind faith. It is living faith, anchored in the knowledge that you and the deity are one. It is not a request from outside. It is activated from within. And then the magic begins. Metaphysical prayer is a technology of the soul. It is not a directionless emotional invocation or a repetitive recitation. It is an act of multidimensional alignment, a reorganization of the personal vibrational field, so that external reality reflects an already established internal reality. And that changes everything. To understand how this prayer works, we must consider its three basic pillars: thought, feeling, and word. Each of them has its own power, but only in their totality does everything manifest. First, the thought, the sacred seed. Everything begins with a thought, but not just any thought. A thought full of intention. A thought that arises from the soul's desire and not from the ego's fear. In metaphysical prayer, thinking is not just imagination. It is sowing. It places an archetypal image in your vibrational field. It's not about seeing to believe. It's about seeing internally to create externally. But be careful. If your thinking is filled with doubt, contradiction, or disbelief, the seed won't take root. Your thinking must be clear and focused, like a mental arrow pointing to the center of what you want to manifest. Otherwise, it will dissipate, dissolve. Remember, the key to miracles is imagination, fueled by faith. Second, emotions, the water that nourishes. A thought without emotions is sterile. It is like a seed thrown onto stone. It must be irrigated by feelings. Here, we're not talking about emotions as a reaction, but as a resonance. You must truly feel that what you are expressing is already real, that it already lives in your energy field. This is the most often ignored step. Many people pray while thinking about their desires, but they vibrate with the feeling that they don't have them. And so their emotions deny what their reason affirms. In metaphysics, this is called vibrational incoherence. And where incoherence prevails, there is no manifestation. Do you want to attract love? Feel love. Do you desire abundance? You feel that you are already being supported. The right emotion is like water for a plant, invisible but absolutely vital. Third, the verb, the creative order. And finally, the verb, the word spoken aloud, the sound of certainty. This is the moment when the invisible takes shape. In metaphysical prayer, the word is not descriptive. It is creative. You don't say how you feel. You explain what already exists. This is where the divine principle comes into play. God said, "Let there be light." He did not think, nor did he desire. He said, the verb is vibrational action. It is the resonance that changes the field. Therefore, no matter how often you repeat an affirmation, it's just empty talk if you don't speak it in harmony with your thoughts and feelings. The verb doesn't work as an external spell. It works like an internal seal, an energetic sign whose alignment activates universal laws. And when these three forces come together, clear thoughts, felt emotions, and powerfully spoken words create a unique frequency, a vibrational symphony that the universe recognizes. It's what Jesus called the coming together of two, and what the Greeks called a symphony, harmony between the fields. At this point, you don't ask. They declare from a state that is already fulfilled. And the universe, which responds not to prayers but to frequencies, responds precisely. Therefore, metaphysical prayer does not focus on the how, when, or why. It focuses on what already is, on the final, fulfilled, complete state. For when one prays from the end, what one desires has already begun to emerge. What distinguishes a metaphysical prayer from any other form of spiritual petition is the inner place from which it is spoken. While most people pray out of lack, "Give me what I don't have, fill me with what I lack," metaphysical prayer proceeds from the opposite principle. Everything is already there. We pray not out of lack, but out of certainty. not out of fear of emptiness, but out of the fullness of fulfillment. This principle is both the most powerful key and the greatest challenge for the ego, for it means completely abandoning the identity that suffers, that needs, that feels separate. And that's a form of death for the conditioned mind. Imagine you want to manifest a new life, abundance, love, health. The traditional way is to ask for it to happen. But metaphysics tells you that I know this version of you, the one who already lives this reality. Speak like them, feel like them, think and act as if it were already your present identity. This act of embodying the desired reality before you see it is true prayer. This is where a powerful paradox comes into play. You cannot receive the new unless you are willing to die to your old self. Remember these words of Jesus. If you are not born again, you cannot see the kingdom. Being born again means giving up the identity of what you pray for and being born again as what you profess. But that requires something profound: emptying yourself. Get rid of the character who feels restricted, unworthy, and abandoned. Give me your years of conviction I can't do it. I don't deserve it. It's not for me. And that can't be achieved by repeating phrases. You can recognize the deception by deactivating the illusion of scarcity and choosing to inhabit the frequency of the kingdom that is no place. It is a state of consciousness. Therefore, one of the essential steps of metaphysical prayer is what Scripture calls entering the room and closing the door. This does not refer to a physical space, but rather to closing the door to the outside world, to opinions, judgments, and collective doubts. It's an act of inner contemplation in which your soul connects with Source. It's a secret sanctuary where there are no disturbances, only you, your vision, and the creative principle. And in this silence, something subtle but irreversible happens. You become the channel, not the controller. You no longer try to change reality by force. Allow what resonates with you to come closer. And that's not passivity. It's vibrational mastery. There's a common trap: unconscious repetition. Many people believe that repeating a statement 100 times will bring about change. But the metaphysics is clear. A single statement from the right vibrational state has more power than 1,000 statements made out of fear or despair. It's not quantity that counts, but coherence. Metaphysical prayer doesn't focus on the word as magic. It focuses on the painful condition. For the true channel is not the mouth, but the energy field that supports it. So before you pray, ask yourself, am I praying from the perspective of someone who wants to change their life, or from the perspective of someone already living their fulfillment? Am I asking for something, or am I acknowledging what is my due by God's grace? If you can say with resonant certainty, "Thank you, because it is already so," instead of "Please, let it be so," then you have crossed the threshold. You have stopped begging the universe and begun to co-create with it. And at that moment, the prayer has already been answered. You don't need to wear a cast to pray. You don't need high-flown words, incense, or external altars. What you need is something more intimate, more radical, more true. A life that is, in itself, a constant prayer. A life of certainty, not expectation, of creation, not reaction. Next, 5 essential practices to transform your everyday life into a fertile field where every metaphysical prayer is not only spoken but also fulfilled. First, pray with your lifestyle, not just your lips. Do you want abundance? And how do you live your daily life? Out of lack or out of gratitude? Do you want love? And how do you speak to yourself in silence? Every gesture, every thought, every feeling you cultivate is a living affirmation. View each moment as an act of creation. Don't ask why you're not getting what you asked for. Ask yourself how you're doing today. Second, go into your secret space every day. Create a space for yourself every day, even if it's just for 5 minutes, in which you close your eyes to the world and go within. This could be meditation, visualization, or conscious breathing. The ritual is not the end, but the channel. This habit brings you back to the center, to the area, to the state where coherence can grow. Don't wait for time. Make this moment your priority. Your entire reality is built on it. Third, treat your speech like a sacred fire. Every word you speak is an energetic command. Say what you want to bloom. Stop affirming things you don't want to see grow. Replace phrases like, "I can't," "This is difficult," "This is impossible," through declarations full of living faith. "That's settled. I'm determined. Everything speaks for me." The spoken word doesn't just describe, it shapes. Fourth, align your environment with your vision. You can't be healthy if you surround yourself with chaos. You can't create clarity if you live in disorder. Your physical space must reflect your desired end state. Arrange your home as if you were already living in your new reality. Dress, walk, and make decisions as if your prayer has already been fulfilled. This symbolic act creates resonance with the fulfilled state. Fifth, eliminate urgency. Time is an illusion. Anxious desire leads to manifestation. Urgency arises from a lack of faith. Remember, if it were already real, you wouldn't be impatient. You would be calm. This calm, this naturalness, is the vibration that attracts. Be grateful and let go, like someone planting a seed, knowing that there will be a time, even if you don't see anything on the surface today. Finally, understand this. You don't need the universe to give you anything. You just need to align yourself with what already belongs to you on a higher level. And that's not achieved through force, but through coherence. Your job isn't to convince God. Your job is to remember who you are. And when you change, everything changes. At this point, it's no longer just about words, but about identity. Metaphysical prayer is not a technique, but an attitude toward life. It is the conscious decision to live as a creator, not as a victim. It means going from someone who expects miracles to becoming a living channel through which those miracles are expressed. They have understood that true prayer is not a plea to heaven. It is a declaration that speaks from the soul. Don't say please, but let it happen. Say thank you, because it's already happening. And in this small difference lies the greatest spiritual secret. The universe doesn't respond to your wishes, but to what you already know is happening within you. We explore how thoughts initiate the process, how emotions enliven it, and how the verb seals it. How each sentence is a vibrational configuration that, born of deep coherence, alters the field of possibilities. We also understand that the most common mistake is not to desire, but to desire out of lack, out of fear, out of separation. And the biggest obstacle to the fulfillment of your prayer isn't the outside world. It's the frequency at which you speak. Can you feel peace when you pray with fear? Can you attract abundance when you speak out of fear? Because the word isn't just heard, it vibrates. And vibration doesn't lie. That's why metaphysical prayer requires courage. It calls on you to embody today a version of yourself that you can't yet see with your eyes, but that already beats in the invisible. It calls you to maintain certainty when everything outside seems to deny it. It calls you to live as if it were already there. What is still in the making? And that's not an illusion. The spiritual fidelity. The power of this prayer lies in the inner state from which it is spoken. When you can enter this secret space, this state of being where everything is already fulfilled, you stop asking for answers and begin issuing sacred commands. Your word is no longer a request. It is a resonant command that moves invisible structures. So here's the ultimate truth. Everything comes true when you pray as if you've already received. It's not magic. It's a law as old as time, yet as forgotten as our divinity. I invite you to try it, not through blind faith, but through direct experience. Embrace an authentic desire. Close your eyes. Feel how it's already fulfilled. Say it out loud. Say thank you, and then let it go. Don't worry about the how or when. Your job is to vibrate. The rest will take care of itself. Because when you pray for the soul, reality has no choice. Thank you for reading this far. If this message resonated with you, please subscribe and share. And remember, your word is law when it comes from your true nature. Use it as the oracle that you are.